This webinar is Master the Art of Budgeting and Reporting for Syteline. Corporate performance management expert Chris Porter is here today to guide us through the demonstration and to answer questions for us. If you'll please type any questions that you have in the question panel of the GoToMeeting page here, we're going to answer those at the end. So without further ado, over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Bobby. Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking the time today out of your busy schedules to attend our webinar on Prophix Corporate Performance Management for Syteline, addressing the area of mastering the art of budgeting and reporting. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the following topics. First, starting off with our partnership and how we work together with Godlan as our go-to Syteline partner. Then we're going to dive into some of the challenges that a lot of organizations tend to have in the world of budgeting and reporting when using Syteline as their core ERP system. We'll then talk a bit about Prophix and the CPM difference and what Prophix brings to the table in terms of helping you with those issues. And then we'll move into a live demonstration. As Bobby mentioned, if you have any questions as we move along through the process, please go ahead and type those into the questions box on the GoToWebinar. Furthermore, we'll provide you a call to action and contact at Godlan should you want to see a more tailored demo after today's presentation. So our partnership with Godlan it has been really a fruitful one for many years. Godlan is an implementation partner of Prophix, so they provide the services and project implementation services to set up and implement the solution. And together, Godlan and Prophix really help you extend the value of your Syteline data and unify your processes of both budgeting and reporting into a single environment to make your life much more easier. Godlan themselves did a full evaluation of solutions before choosing Prophix as their core go-to solution for corporate performance management in the areas of budgeting and reporting. Pardon me, just checking to see if that everybody can see my screen. It appears as though it's paused, so I'm just going to make sure we're on the right screen here, and we are. Perfect. Sorry about that. So a little bit about Prophix. Prophix has been around for 30 years as of 2017. We are one of the longest standing solutions and proven solutions in the corporate performance management space. Our goal is really to empower organizations to bring all of their data sources, as I mentioned, for both budgeting and reporting into a single platform that's easy to use, is not technical, and really empowers your business users to be independent. We have over 3,000 customers in over 100 countries, and we have locations all across the world, and we're headquartered in Toronto, Canada. Prophix really extensively works with their customers. It really works to deliver a solution that's built for finance. It's built for business users, whether you're in finance, whether you're in sales and operations. It's really a solution to empower the users who use it. It's not a solution built to make you challenge and climb this technical hurdle. It's really all about providing a simple, easy, but yet powerful interface to do all of your budgeting and reporting and bring your company together in that they're going to use a single platform for all of their data. So some of the top issues facing CFOs and C-suite executives today is prioritizing and effectively responding to the demands that come back to the business and the finance function. So, responding to ad hoc data requests, responding to budgeting information and budgeting questions through the budgeting cycle, gathering the data that's, in the organization. Oftentimes that falls on finance or it falls on IT and operations, and ultimately they're the ones that have to bring all of the different information together. As well, ensuring that the necessary skills and capabilities are available within their department to support users, because oftentimes they're using technical models or they're using Excel. So it's very difficult to make sure you have the right resources available to be able to maintain your processes as they are today. So some of the common challenges and some of the common struggles are finance is bogged down by manual data collection, manual data aggregation. They're constantly fumbling with formulas, fumbling with links, having to ensure the data is accurate, things like that. At the end of the day, their budgeting processes are typically in Excel, so they're sending spreadsheets out. They're building these massive workbooks, and at the end of the day, it's all very manual. They can't see their budget come together in real time, so they have to wait for people to, submit back the final product, and then they have to consolidate it. At the end of the day, it's a very ineffective use of their time and the value that they could potentially be bringing to their organization. When they're spending all this time, they're unable to, gather potentially some great data. We find with customers that they have a lot of really great data in their organization. They just don't have the time to really utilize it, and they don't have the time to necessarily, spend analyzing it and providing that strategic value to their business, because they're spending a lot of time simply just dealing with data and dealing with spreadsheets. So this is really reality for most organizations today prior to using a solution like Prophix. So if you're leveraging a corporate performance management solution, at the end of the day, it really helps organizations provide more strategic value, because they're automating their data flows. They're automating the process and reducing the time it takes to produce monthly reporting or weekly reporting. They are spending less time managing large workbooks and spreadsheets. They're letting a system take care of that. So it's really all about spending time wisely, spending time and utilizing tools like Prophix that were built to do budgeting and reporting. We're not using tools like your ERP or like an Excel sheet that really at the end of the day weren't built for doing automated reporting. So it's all about using solutions and tools that are meant to do the job that you're trying to complete. So you're probably wondering, what does Prophix do? Yes, we do budgeting and reporting, without a doubt. What we have here is we actually have something called the Gartner CPM maturity model, and this is a model that was built by the analyst firm Gartner. It has 5 levels of maturity or potential value that the solution can bring to an organization. And with Prophix, we cover all 5 areas and cover all 5 levels. So most organizations will start off replacing their existing budgeting and reporting solutions, so Excel or whatever they might be using, and they'll be able to progress and mature through this model without having to buy additional software. That's right, Prophix provides all of its modules and all of its functionality right from day one. And so everything from financial budgeting and reporting to operational budgeting and reporting to sales, all of that can be done within Prophix. Additionally, we have the full capability to do forecasting, to do cash flow planning, consolidations, dashboarding and scorecarding, operational planning. All of those modules are included in our solution. And so the beauty of this is that you can buy Prophix, own it forever, and you can continue to get more return on investment out of the solution because you're not being bogged down by additional costs and additional modules. So we really empower organizations to use our solution as a platform, as a business partner, to grow and provide more value to your business users. And this solution is an all-in-one solution that's been built from the ground up through no acquisition of other software. So it's a truly organic solution, and as I said before, it's a solution that we work very closely with our customers on because we want to deliver a solution that's meaningful to them. And so the Prophix difference is that we are a single, unified solution with the comprehensive and full suite of CPM capabilities. It's a solution that's truly owned and managed by the finance team, by the sales team, by the operation teams that use it. It's not a solution that requires IT to constantly be supporting and working on. As you'll see in a little bit, Prophix has full direct integration to not just Syteline, but many data sources, as well as full drill back into the transactional information that's down below in the transactions in the ERP or any database for that matter. Prophix has full collaborative workflow, so when you're doing your budgeting cycle, it's collaborative. Users know what their tasks are. Once their tasks are completed, they go through the levels of approval. It's really all about setting it and forgetting it and letting the system manage the approval process, letting the system manage, where the tasks need to go next. And so it's really very quite automated. Also, Prophix and Godlan are with you every step of the way. It's a solution that's always implemented as a very collaborative approach. So we work with you, we train you, we're not working in silos and then delivering the final product to you. It's all about empowering the customer, it's all about training the customer. And as well, Prophix has multiple deployment options, such that if you want to deploy it on your premise or you want to deploy it in a cloud environment, that is available. The solution I'll be showing you today is available in both formats, so we can simply show you the solution and then you decide. You have full choice to deploy it in the way that you want. Just to give you a bit of an idea of sort of what the system overview looks like of Prophix and then as it relates to Syteline. And so with Prophix, we directly connect to the underlying databases, whether it's Syteline, whether it's your CRM or an operational system. And so that's the first step. Prophix then passes the data through all of the business definitions and calculations, which are centralized. They are not sheet specific like it would be in Excel. So you set up your hierarchies, you set up the way the data flows from the bottom to the top, and then from there, it then produces the reports. It then can export into different formats in Word and the Microsoft Office suite, but it always, at any given time, you always have the ability to view the underlying transactional detail in the underlying database that we're connecting to. So we're now going to jump into the demo. So in the demo today, we're going to talk about 5 key areas, first starting off with sort of monitoring performance. And you'll see in a bit why we're going to start there. And that's just simply because when you log into Prophix, the first thing you're presented with is a dashboard, a visual analytics or a visual diagram of information that's pertinent to you as an end user. From there, we're going to move into some of the ad hoc data analysis that your end users are enabled to do. Then we'll shift gears and talk a little bit more about budgeting, forecasting, and planning. We'll then get into some more detailed planning, so where you don't plan at the general ledger level, so we can get into some more granularity, perhaps in some other areas. And then we'll tie it off with automating reporting, so the process of actually reducing the time that it takes to produce your monthly reporting or quarterly reporting or your annual reporting. Again, at any time, please don't hesitate to ask questions. So I'm now just going to switch screens, pause for a second, ensure that we're moved over. Perfect. So first and foremost, when we log into Prophix, the very first thing that we see is the Prophix home screen, which is a dashboard. The beauty of this type of dashboard is that you can create a dashboard for each individual user, so that when every user logs into the system, they'll see some core KPIs, some core reports that are specific to them. So presenting them with things on a daily basis that are pertinent to them and the ownership that they have in the business. When you open up the home screen, the additional functions that you have are that you can actually navigate through the data. So you're not just stuck to giving someone a static data set, but rather you can actually look at this data and you can truly interact with it. What I mean by this is that if you wanted to look at Q1 G&A and you wanted to see that at the account level and you wanted to see that at the monthly level, well then all we'd have to do is just simply right-click, hit the down arrow. Immediately it now opens up the individual months in the first quarter, and it opens up the individual account codes that are in the G&A group. This again is what makes Prophix interactive, because it's built on a centralized and a core hierarchy. So in other words, users can interact with the data, they can drill up, they can drill down, they can do that all within the confines of their security permissions. So that really allows users to be very independent in their analysis. It allows them to answer the questions that they have about the data without having to go back to finance, without having to go back to their operations team and get that information from them. So again, coming back to the theme of saving time and providing more value to the business. Similarly, in addition to having a financial model over here with your general ledger, we have a sales model over here where we're now looking at your top 5 customers. And in this case, you can do a similar type of interaction whereby if you have customer groups, you can drill up and drill down on those customer groups. So for example, if I wanted to look at this customer, who is our largest and most highest revenue producing customer, and I wanted to look at them at their group level, I can right-click and I can go up to the customer group level. Similarly, if I wanted to drill down on group 2 instead of group 1, which I was in before, I could drill down and look at group 2, which is a completely different group of customers. As I also said, you also have the ability to always drill into the underlying transactional detail. So in any dashboard, in any report, you always have the ability to right-click and then open up all of the individual transactions. And furthermore, if you have your invoices scanned into the system, you can see that my cursor has changed because you can have hyperlinks into those invoices. So again, these are some of the most common questions that oftentimes come back on finance and operations and IT to provide this level of detail and provide this information. So by using technology that was built to do these things, you can really save yourself a lot of time. Furthermore, because we're looking at a chart, you may say to yourself, well, I'd like to look at the grid. I'd like to look at the columns and the rows that are making up this chart. So I can similarly also get more information by clicking on the down ribbon here and hitting the launch button, which will then open up the ad hoc analysis. So the ad hoc analysis is a great way for another way of empowering your users to do their own analysis, to answer their own questions. So here we now have the grid that's making up that component or that chart in the home screen dashboard. From here, we can also expand open and see all of the additional fields. In this case, I have a couple here, which are versions for tracking actual and plan and variances, and I have companies or organization codes. So the additional fields now allow the users to give additional level of flexibility to click and drag to slice and dice on the information. Once again, common questions and requirements that oftentimes those business users have. So from here, if I wanted to say to myself, you know, I'd like to see I'll go up a level, I'd like to see the operating accounts or the operating expense accounts listed out with actual plan and variance. So all I simply have to do is just take the fields from over here, click, and drag it onto the columns here where the months are, and now I have actuals. Then if I wanted to add in my plan, I'll just right-click on the column here, which contains the different scenarios or versions in Prophix, go to Choose Members, and then just double-click and add in the plan, add in the variance. And as you can see, we can store additional plans for things like forecasts as well. So doing lots of really great what-if planning. So if I click OK, we now have actuals, plan, variance, and variance percentage. Now, what's the difference between this and doing this in Excel? Well, the main difference is that obviously this is built on a centralized hierarchy, which is approved by finance, is approved by the admin team. That also, all of your calculations like variances and variance percentages are also pre-calculated and determined by the administrators of the system. So we're really employing users to be not only autonomous in their analysis, but we're also employing them to be accurate in the data that they're reporting. So it's all about, you know, centralization, consistency, and validity in a single source of the truth for your data. So from here, we could continue and, you know, drill down. We could keep going down to the bottom account level. We can show up the keys, show up the names. We can add in any level of formatting that you want. Now, once you have this report in the way that you want it, the nice thing is that Prophix can take this report and put it into a presentation quality report and give you the exact same look and feel as your Excel, in that we use the exact same reporting and the exact same formatting ribbon. So it gives your users a lot of familiarity. So we could take that report, bring it into the formatted report writer, and apply the formatting. Within here, additionally, we can drill down and we can look at different departments, we can look at different divisions, we can slice and dice, and it's all within the confines of that user's security model. Unlike Excel, where you might have to create individual tabs and workbooks for individual users, Prophix takes the user's security and applies that to the report or the template that they're accessing. So again, saving more time, providing you with more time for value-added activities. So we're now going to just quickly shift gears away from the reporting side of things And we're going to talk a little bit more about sort of the budgeting side of things. As you've seen in there, Prophix has the ability to look at plan data as well as actuals. And with Prophix, it's all about doing all of that in one environment, but it's also all about providing you with a solution that helps you leverage all of that great data and leverage the actuals from Syteline, leverage the data from your CRM system. It's all about using a solution and a tool that helps you forecast forward based on prior year's performance. So for example, at the core of planning in Prophix is something called workflow. And so we have a widget here on our home screen, which is showing us all of the various different tasks that this user who's logged into the system has access to. So this is, again, one of the core features and cornerstones of doing planning in Prophix. When I launch into this component of the dashboard, it will then open up all of the individual tasks that are in progress, past due, and also finished. So the workflow is really a solution that you can set up for your planning process, for your month-end process, and really just set it and forget it. You'll assign the users who have to fill out the budget. You'll assign the users who have to approve the budget. So no longer will you ever have to chase people down, will you have to answer questions about what version are we using in the budget. You can control all of that centrally within the workflow. So as I can see, there's a task here that's past due, so I'm probably going to address this one first. But we have other things in here that I also have to complete, which are things like CapEx planning, sales planning, personnel planning, as well as some tasks that are on a monthly recurring basis, which are to review the financial statements. So I'm going to open up the department OpEx plan here. When I open this one up, you'll notice that in the pages, I do have access to some other departments, but I only have access to the departments that I, as the end user, should receive and should have access to. So it's all about providing the users with only the data that they have access to, but that doesn't mean extra work for you. It's really a great tool for that. Additionally, we can move through different versions of the plan if we have two versions that we have to fill out. So we have plan version 1, plan version 2. But I'm going to go through a couple of different scenarios in how Prophix can help you do your planning. So I'm going to switch gears and move over to our content marketing department because I'm going to start with that one. Within this department, as you can see, we do have some data that's already been filled out, but we're clearly not anywhere close to being finished our budget. So as we work through this, you're going to kind of see the different tools and different ways that Prophix can help you do planning. So first and foremost, one of the areas that we can start off with is the idea that we can do planning at a ledger level, but then we're going to shift gears and talk about how you can do planning at a more detailed level, a more granular level. So allowing your users to plan their sales data, allowing users to plan their operational data. And with Prophix, we provide you with a lot of different flexibility, a lot of different tools that allow you to do your planning in a much more agile way. So you're not just going to have to do it by month. You don't have to just do it by day, but rather you can spend time doing planning at a quarterly level, a 12-month level, a 24-month level. We even have customers that do it on a 50-year level, a 100-year level. So the theme is that we're providing you with the ability to plan the way that you want. So the first way I'm going to start off is I'm going to start off with planning at the ledger level. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. We can plan by month by account, by week by account, by day by account. So first and foremost, if I look at last year's forecast and I say, we're forecasting the remaining 3 months and we're going to hit a full year expense of $56,000. I could plan, by month. That's no problem. I could sit here, type in the data by month, and then, go through that whole kind of process. But with Prophix, we give the user the flexibility to plan at a higher level as well. So, for example, if we want to plan out $60,000 for the coming year at the annual level, we can do that, and then the user has the option to then allocate or spread the data appropriately into the different areas. So first and foremost, we could spread it evenly, which will divide it by the number of months that we're planning for. We could spread it based on the data that's already there. So if you guys start with a baseline budget, you can spread based on that baseline budget. You could also spread based on a predetermined weighting that you set up for the individual months as the administrator. But the fourth and probably most powerful option available is to spread based on data in the system already. So this is all about leveraging the data that you've brought into Prophix from Syteline, from other data sources, and using that for the purpose of planning your data forward. So for example, if we wanted to go into the account FTE, or a headcount account that we've loaded into Prophix, that's no problem. We can simply just open up our account listing, which has the full hierarchy of our income statement, full hierarchy of our balance sheet, but it also has hierarchies for statistical accounts and driver-based accounts. So if we load up the FTE into Prophix, we can then use that for the purpose of allocations and spreading. So if I choose FTE, click OK, Prophix is now going to go into the database, grab that FTE number, create the weighted average for us, and then allocate the $60,000 appropriately. So if I click OK, we now have it's now going to go into the system and do all of those calculations and do all of that information appropriately. So as we can see, FTE just happens to be in this template, but it's not a requirement for doing the spread. So as an example, January and February are the same amount of FTE, so therefore it's the same on the equipment and account January, February. In March forward, we then uptick to 11.2 FTE, so now we have a higher amount moving forward. So again, it's all about utilizing that data that you have in Syteline, and it's really, really great data. So now if we add that in, we can add in a piece of commentary, and from here we can simply say spread based on FTE, so that when the approver comes in, they will know, why is the data spread accordingly. And furthermore, you can require and force your users to provide that level of justification if you want them to. The other area that we see a lot of commonality in is the fact that organizations want their users to provide almost like a transactional or a line item budget for certain areas. The most common area tends to be travel and entertainment. So, how many trips, how many, field events are you going to be doing, things like that. So in that case, we have a blue triangle requirement here. And if I go into airfare and I try to put a piece of data into that account, it will then tell me that this account can only be updated using the line item schedules. So therefore, you're requiring your users to have to provide more written justification for their expense. So if I click OK, it will now open up the individual list of trips or individual line items that I've planned out. So if in here I say, all right, well, we're going to take a trip to the Sun Conference, and that's going to happen in March. So we're going to put a list item here, and in March we're going to attend, and it's going to be $5,000 for the trip. Once I hit save, it's now going to save that piece of commentary, save that line item, and then over in March we're going to go from 18,000 up to 23,000. So the line item details is yet again another way that you can require your users to do their planning, to do the planning the way that you want them to. Now the final area is this area that we've talked about before, which is payroll, or we talked about in the agenda called detailed planning, unlocking detailed planning. This is where organizations don't necessarily plan everything out at the ledger level. They're not just doing things dollars and cents by general ledger account, but rather they're planning things out in a much more granular fashion. For example, payroll, for example, CapEx, and some other areas as well. So within here, if I try to type in a number, it says the cell you're attempting to modify is not editable. That is because we're going to utilize the detailed planning manager to fill out our budget. So I'm going to go back to workflow. I'm going to open up the department personnel task, and it's going to open up the detailed planning manager schedule for employee planning. So this model here is a separate model. It's a model that's built out to do tax, benefits, earnings planning, and the beauty of this is that it's fully integrated to your payroll system. So we bring all of this great information into Prophix. All of these calculations are pre-built, so you don't have to know any technicalities to set them up, and you can do your planning of typically your biggest expense and biggest line item in a very, very accurate way. Additionally, all of the individual fields that you're seeing here can be locked down, they can be hidden. We recognize that the security is very important. So within here, we can add new employees in, and within here, we can add them in, and we can add new people that we're adding for the year. We can edit existing employees. We can do whatever we need to make our budget and bring it up to date. So if I wanted to make a change to this open position start time, they're not going to start in March. We're going to delay that. We're going to move them out to June. That's no problem. We can edit that. Additionally, if you need to make a promotion, or you need to make a department change, or one of your employees is going to be allocated between departments, you can do all of that. It's available. It's an easy function to set up. Now, the goal is for a lot of organizations when they do this type of planning is to be more accurate. However, one of the biggest issues that a lot of organizations have doing this in Excel is simply getting the data back to the general ledger, getting it back to the financial plan. That could take potentially weeks for a lot of companies. With Prophix, you can set up all the different fields that you need to plan for in the Detailed Planning Manager and simply just link them over to the financial statements. This is not an equals formula, but rather it's just a simple click and drag to set those types of things up. Once you set that up, all of this data flows naturally, so that as people are planning in the system, whether it's at the ledger level or the detailed level, you can see the budget come together day by day, week by week, month by month. So once we've done this plan at the detailed level, we can go to the Actions tab and we can hit Update. Update is then going to send all this information back to our financial plan. So it's going to go to the P&L, it's going to go to the balance sheet, it's going to go to our cash flow projections, fully integrated to all the financials in your company. If I go back to that template now, which we had started planning out the OpEx on, as you can see, the payroll is currently blank, but now that we've hit the Update button, we can hit Refresh, and immediately all of that information can flow over. Now, it's that level of real-time flow that allows organizations to then take the next step and do things like what-if planning. So, for example, if I want to go back to my employee plan, I want to go back to the schedule and say, okay, that's great, that's interesting, but this individual, we're going to pull them forward, and they're actually going to start the year in January. So they're not going to start in March. So if I make that change, then I hit Update. Again, it now will make that change. We can go back and we can see what that additional change has done to our overall operating cost schedule. So for a lot of organizations, this is the kind of planning that they want to do. They want to say, what if we ship 10,000 more units this month? What if we get that contract with that potential customer? It's the what if and the real-time data flow and the instant analytics that's so important to making those types of data-driven decisions. So that data flow between the Detailed Planning Manager back to your financials is so critical. So once I've completed this budget, let's say I've gone down, I've completed the full operating budget down here, what I'm going to do next is then I'm going to hit Submit. When I hit Submit, it then can provide me with a little piece of commentary for my approver. So when my approver comes into the template and workflow sends it over to them, they can have a little piece of commentary. So for example, I can say, increased headcount through Q1 and additional detail on travel expense. So once I've done that, I hit yes. It will then send that template and send that task over to the next user. And that next user will now open up. So if I hit refresh, it shows me now that that task has been submitted. So it's gone on to the next person. That next person will then approve it. They'll reject it. They can make changes to it. And then once they've completed it, they can send it on to that next user in line in the approval flow. So the workflow is exceptionally good at helping you minimize risk around the budgeting process. You can control it, you can monitor it, and the end users, all they have to really worry about is, do I have a task to complete? The other area we also wanted to talk about was the area of forecasting. So for some organizations, they now have the time, because of using Prophix, they do now have the time to do a forecast, either on a monthly basis, a rolling 12, a quarterly forecast, whatever it might be. So for example, we can open up that template now that we've gone through, roughly almost 3 months of the year, so January through February. We're going to now forecast the remainder of the year. So the remainder of the year is pre-populated with the existing budget, but let's say we want to make some changes to it. So, at the moment, the original plan was 85,000. Based on actuals thus far, we're trending towards about 93. So what I'm going to say, though, is we're going to control our spend through the remainder of the year. We're going to bring it down, and we're going to say we're going to bring into 87,000. So when we have the forecast, what it additionally gives us the ability to do is to not just spread and allocate, but it will automatically subtract the existing actuals that you already have in your forecast. So for example, I'm going to use spread evenly for this option, and it's going to subtract the first three months or the first quarter, and then just the remaining amounts will be spread through to the end of the year. So that's all that's coming in, and we have a total of 87,000. So it'll subtract this, give me the remaining, and then allocate the remaining out. So that's kind of the level of forecasting you can do. You can do rolling 12, you can do quarterly, you can do multi-year forecasting. There's a lot of really great examples of this. One other thing I wanted to quickly show is the fact that for some organizations, they may not just plan dollars and cents this way. They may plan on a driver-based approach. So for example, for your accountants in your organization, you guys may pay their CPA fees. So it'll be, there's a standard fee times an FTE. So for example here, our dues and subscriptions account is not just a dollar and cent. It's based on a rate, and it's based on the number of headcount or FTE. So if I say, in April, the fee is going to be $300, it's then going to take that 9.9 times the 300 and give us the remaining amount, or the resulting amount of $29.70. So for those of you who do kind of driver-based planning, whether it be for OpEx categories, or perhaps it might be related to sales, so I'll switch over quickly here to a sales plan, where you might be planning out customers and products, price times quantity, price times labor cost, times material cost, all of those different types of things. We have that ability too. So allowing you to plan the way you want to plan. So the final area we wanted to go through before we throw it open to Q&A was, we've shown a lot of reports. We've shown a lot of templates. For a lot of organizations, one of the biggest sort of heavy lifting items is simply just compiling those reports into a single package, into a single document for their management team, for their board. And so for a lot of companies, that's a big task. That's a big effort. With Prophix, not only do we integrate the data and it automatically flows, we also pick up on all the additions to things like new customer codes, new account codes. That automatically flows into Prophix. It will automatically flow into the reports that you've built. So fully minimizing and reducing all of that manual effort to maintain your reports. And so at the end of the day, you can get those reports out to your end users much, much faster. So one of the big things that Prophix provides is a function called a report binder. Now, a report binder is the ability to actually produce those reports into a single document. And so really, at the end of the day, giving your users something in a single package that's easy to digest, and then we'll promote them to come into the system and do all of all the analysis and the slice and dice. So, for example, if I set up the report binder here in the Prophix side, and I say, there's a cover page, there's some narrative, and then there's 4 reports that go into that package. I can send them out to a distribution list of users, and because Prophix knows each of their security profiles, Prophix will take care of removing the data that they don't have access to. It will collapse pages that are blank, all of that great stuff. So what I can do is I can send that report out to my various end users. I can schedule it on a monthly basis. I can create a workflow task for it. But even better, I can set it and forget it if we have, weekly inventory reports, weekly KPI reports, and you just want Prophix to publish those out to your end users on an automated basis. That's no problem. So we're going to send those users their package, and they're going to open it up in any format they'd like. So, for example, if they want to open it up in the browser, they want to open it up on their mobile device, on the PDF, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, whatever it is, they can consume it anywhere, anytime, in how they want. So now that comes through to me, it's been sent in a PDF format. I can open it up straight from my inbox, and I'll just scroll up to the top, and we can begin to review it. So we can have your company's cover page. We can have a little bit of narrative from the finance department or from whoever might be providing the information. And then we immediately start to get into the reports. Now again, remember, once we get into these reports, we're now seeing information that only you as the end user or the recipient have access to. So we have everything from a monthly variance income statement report to a full single pane of glass of all the financial statements, as well as dashboards that we may want to give the users as well. So that really kind of caps it off. It's all about getting the information from the source, passing it through those business definitions, passing it through those hierarchies, and getting it to the end users faster. Since once they receive these reports, they are undoubtedly going to then open up Prophix and start to begin to do some of the analysis that we talked about earlier. So if there's some questions, again, please don't hesitate to put those questions into the questions box. As you're kind of starting to do that, I just want to remind you that in a couple of weeks, Prophix and Godlan will be at the Syteline User Network Conference in Orlando, Florida. So do please come by our booth, come by, say hi, ask questions. We will be there. And if you do have any other questions, you can contact Ron Klontz, who is Vice President of Solutions at Godlan, and we would be happy to answer any questions, give you a more tailored demo, whatever you'd like to see. Just feel free to contact Ron, and we will get that set up for you. So, Bobby, why don't we throw it open to some questions?
Okay, thanks, Chris. Great presentation. We do have a couple of questions so far. First one, can you use Detail Planning Manager for sales planning or CapEx planning?
Yeah, certainly. So the example we showed today was a very, very common example because, again, a lot of organizations will want to plan their payroll in the very detailed manner. And so they'll plan it out employee by employee, sometimes role by role. But certainly you can use Detailed Planning Manager for virtually any kind of detailed non-financial planning that you may want to do, and have that information. Again, the goal is to get that information back to the financial statements. So absolutely. And furthermore, we have calculations pre-built for things like sales planning, commissions planning, CapEx planning, and so on. So again, you don't have to build anything. It's not like you have to do any kind of coding. We've built all of that out for you.
Okay, great, thanks. Second question is, can Prophix integrate with more than just Syteline?
Yeah, certainly. If you want to go ahead and visit our website, you'll see there's a little over 200 different data sources Prophix is integrated to. So Prophix is, again, all about providing you with a single version of the truth, a single user experience for all of your data and all of your reporting. Today we touched on three main areas, which were sales, financial, and personnel planning, but all of the data in your organization can effectively be brought into Prophix.
Excellent. Well, that's all the questions I see here so far. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to call or email. Email simply would be info@godlan.com. And we will also make a recording of this available. If you'd like to have that, send a note to either ron.klontz or info@godlan.com. And again, thank you for your time. And Chris, thank you for your time as well. And everybody have a great day.